Before we begin, we respectfully acknowledge the City of Bathurst as the essential homeland of the Mi'kmaq. Today, these lands are homes to a diverse population of Indigenous and other people. We also acknowledge with respect the diverse histories and culture of the Mi'kmaq in this region. Nous reconnaissons avec respect l'emplacement de la ville de Bathurst en tant que terre ancestrale du peuple Mi'kmaq. Aujourd'hui, ces terres sont hôtes d'une population diverse, comprenant personnes natives du territoire et autres patries. Nous reconnaissons aussi avec respect l'histoire et les diverses cultures du peuple Mi'kmaq de la région. Ms. Parker?
So we have 3 presentations tonight. Nous avons 3 présentations ce soir. We are going to start with the presentation of the retirement gift and the long service certificate for Mr. Frank Sullivan. So Mr. Frank Sullivan is being presented with his retirement gift and 35-year federal service bar from the City of Bathurst. Mr. Sullivan joined the City of Bathurst Fire Department as a volunteer in September 1988. In June 1991, he was hired as a temporary firefighter and as a full-time firefighter in November 1997. He was promoted as lieutenant in May 2002 and then as captain in March 2010. He is also an instructor with the Bathurst Fire Department and was coordinator for the Provincial Hazmat Scout Team, as well as a member of the Fire Department Rescue Squad.
All right. So we'll ask Mr. Frank Sullivan to please come up. Okay, there's quite a bit. He is very well, you know. Okay, I'll hold it and then here, I'll hold it for you. Okay, how's that? Okay.
I'll grab a couple here. Small ring. Okay.
All right, now I'll ask you to stick around so we can take another picture with council.
Okay.
Thank you.
Our second presentation will be another long service certificate. This will be to Fire Chief Danny Boucher. Mr. Danny Boucher is being presented with a 35-year federal service bar from the City of Bathurst. Mr. Boucher joined the Bathurst Fire Department as a volunteer in September 1988. In July 1998, he was hired as a temporary firefighter. He was then hired as a full-time firefighter in September 2000. He was promoted to lieutenant in October 2008, then captain in August 2011. He became deputy fire chief in January 2016 and became fire chief in the fall of 2021. He has held the position of trainer and was a member of the Fire Department Rescue Squad.
All right, I'll ask Chief Danny Boucher to please come up and get his certificate. I'll start with this.
No goal watch for me?
Oh, well, I guess not yet. Are you retired? Not far, okay. Yeah. Gold watch will be coming after you decide, but you can't go just yet. All right.
It's over?
There. Is that good?
Yeah.
All right, if you can stay, could you be able to come back? And can council come so we can take a group picture? Luke, did you want to take a group? Yes. The two of us all together?
Yes.
Separate? Okay. He's too young to retire. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. On se voit juste à midi. Là. Good. All right. Grab a few here. Please. One and two. And one more. Agent. Three went to six. All right. Thank you.
City of Bathurst is very fortunate to have had both wonderful men part of our team. Okay.
Our final presentation is item 2.3, Bathurst Music Festival by Eddie Edwards.
I didn't expect it to be so quick. Hello again, and thank you for allowing me to come and take a few minutes to present on behalf of the Chaleur Music Festival. Now we've changed the name to make it more reflective of the region that we represent. When I came before you last year as a city council to give you an update on how the festival had happened, you might recall we were very pleasantly surprised by the uptake. Coming from a standing start of after 3 years without the event, we were being cautious in our expectations, but our fears were unfounded, and we had a diverse and talented pool of performers. In fact, the independent adjudicator was so impressed they sent a number of our representatives to the provincial finals, including a chorale from the Bathurst High School that performed very well. They did the city proud. So this year, this coming year, 2024, we expect a greater number of participants, and part of that expansion will be the result of lessons that we learnt from the festival last year. We had an opportunity after the festival to have a debrief, and it was quite interesting, and I'm sure that in council you have quite a number of opinions that are processed backwards and forwards, and that's what happened when we had our debrief. And as a result of that, we expect a number of opportunities were identified to improve this year. For instance, during last year's festival, we asked the adjudicators to go out to some of the schools, and that saved disruption to the school schedules and bringing kids in and bringing instruments into the festival. So we might expand on that this year going forward, and we also look at probably using video presentations as well. We've already got a budget mapped out for 2024, including the provision for more marketing, an upgrade to some computer systems to allow us to record the videos and photos and the administration documents for the event, and to cover the possibility that we'll probably need an extra adjudicator this year. And we want to give out more bursaries because we were limited last year with the finances that we had, but this year we wanted to improve on that. We anticipate that we'll spend in the region of $7,500, which will include, obviously, the bursaries and the adjudication fees. Our total income last year was pretty much $7,500, which comprised of $5,200 in grants from local and businesses and sponsorship, and obviously a grant from the council, which we were very grateful for. We got gate receipts of almost $1,700. We didn't anticipate that. We didn't know how much we were going to get coming through the door because we didn't know how many people were going to attend. So that was a pleasant surprise. And we also got a $700 grant from the provincial festival. Our total expenses were just over $5,000. So we currently have a balance in our budget of just over $5,000. The provincial board expect us to have that because they want us to have enough to run one festival and have that budget on hand. So we need to raise about $7,500 in the next 5 months for the music festival. Last year you were very supportive, you were very generous, and we really appreciate it. So this year, if you could be more generous, we'd appreciate it even more. Just a reminder that 100% of the monies that we raise and that we get as grants and as donations goes to the festival. There are no payments to anyone. It's a completely 100% volunteer committee and volunteers for the event. So, thank you. Any questions?
Do we have any questions? I was waiting for you, Councillor Burnett.
I was trying to find the button there.
Don't make them difficult.
The dates again for the
It's going to be the 2nd of April through to the 7th of April.
2nd of April.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know that you came, Councillor Burnett, to the final concert on the...
It was good.
It was
Really
good. It
Yeah.
was. We were very impressed with the level.
Thank you.
You're
Merci.
welcome. So how much did we give last year, Ms. Parker?
It was $1,500 as a grant.
$1,500?
And then you had a purchase of a batch of tickets for city employees for $500, so you gave $2,000.
Okay, over 2,000. All right. Well, we do have your request. We'll bring it through with the committee, and we will definitely follow up with you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate
you.
it. Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Ms. Parker, do we have any items to be added or removed?
We have item 13.2.1, incentive programs by Chris Legacy, Director of Economic Development, that needs to be removed from the agenda.
Okay. Do we need to go to a vote to that, or we're just removing it? It's fine?
When he does the reading for point 4, it will be removed.
Okay, perfect. All right. So we will go to the adoption of the agenda. Councillor Legacy.
I move that the agenda be approved as presented with the removal of item 13.2.1.
Perfect. May I have a seconder? Councillor Hondas, ready for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Oppose? Motion carried. Ms. Parker, do we have any declaration of conflict of interest?
There were no conflicts of interest declared.
Okay. So we have a full calendar of resolutions to be read. So what we are going to do is we'll have council read it, move it, I'll get a seconder, and then I'll go to the question before we go to the vote for each topic. And I won't go as fast because I want to make sure that Ms. Parker can follow. I have a tendency of going faster than the notes she can take, I know. So if you see me going a little bit slower, you'll know why. Okay, adoption of the minutes, a 6-point run, regular public meeting held on October 16, 2023. Councillor Willett.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that the minutes of the regular public meeting dated October 16, 2023 be approved as circulated.
All right, we have a seconder. Councillor Scary, ready for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Oppose? Motion carried. Ms. Parker, do we have any delegation or petition?
There were no delegations or petitions.
Perfect. We fall under finance. And we will go to accounts payable for October 2023. Councillor Scary.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that the accounts payable totals, including payroll, for the month of October 2023 be approved as follows. Operating $1,051,798. Capital, $939,142, for a total of $3,201,734.
Perfect. May I have a seconder? Councillor Knowles. Before I go to the question, Mr. Pettigrew.
Thank you, Worship. The following is a summary of disbursements for the month of October 2023. In the Capital Fund, Chlorotech Inc. received a payment of $60,374 for chlorine regulators and remote emergency shutoff at the water treatment plant. RH Fernet received a payment of $839,010 for combined sewer reduction, street upgrades, and booster station. Roy Consultants received a payment of $39,758 for consulting services on different capital projects throughout the city, for a total in the capital of $939,142. In the operating fund, Sierra Planning Services received a payment for the Recreation Master Plan and Aquatic Center study of $38,743. Chaleur Regional Service Commission received a payment of $79,515 for garbage, sludge, and recyclables. The Minister of Finance, Environment, and Local Government received a Q3 LSD accounts payment for various services of $73,872. St. Isidore Asphalt received their payment of $34,751 for patching for various streets throughout the city. Oaks Enterprise Sales and Services received a payment of $19,747 for Pump 11 replacement at the KCI. Chemtrade Chemicals Canada Limited received a payment of $13,115 for liquid aluminum for the water treatment plant. NB Power received a payment for electricity of $148,259. Bathurst Festival Commission, Inc. received a payment of $25,000 for a Hospitality's Days additional grant. Irving Energy received a payment of $29,363 for bulk diesel and oil. Transitional Solutions, Inc. received a payment of $24,969 for fire service review and the master plan. Wolseley Canada, Inc. received a payment of $20,403 for culvert pipes. Wex Canada received a payment of $12,223 for fuel. Other recurring payments for the month were animal control, repair supplies, promoter settlements for tickets for a total of $531,840. Total in the operating fund for the month is $1,051,798. Total payroll was $1,210,795 for 4 pay periods, for a grand total of $3,201,734 for the month of October. That is my report, Your Worship.
All right, does council have any questions? Councillor Burnett?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. The RH for net one for $839,000, is that the booster station up on St. Anne Street that's covered there?
Thank you. Thank you, Your Worship. We'll go through to Mr. Abernathy for the details.
Mr. Abernathy?
Yeah, it's one of the projects that are ongoing right now. There's the storm sewer separation that's also ongoing, and some road upgrades as well. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Yep,
I'm on, thank you. I noticed the siding is not on that building yet. Will that be done this year or next year?
Through to Mr. Abernathy.
Thank you, Your Worship. We expect it any time for the siding. I know I had reported previously to council that we were looking at commissioning the building in late November. It looks like that's going to get pushed into January. There was some parts that, some equipment that has been delayed, so still looking at commissioning in January, however, and not pushing all the way to the spring, so looks like it should be okay.
That's good. Yep.
On that project is the sign for the skateboard park for Mr. Fournette, or Pete, is that going to go back up?
Yes, we'll relocate it and certainly install it again. Yeah,
Yeah, because that's pretty neat what he did to get that skateboard park going for the kids.
For sure.
Thank you.
That answers your questions?
It does. Thank you very much.
Okay, so we'll go to the questions. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Oppose? Motion carried. We go under municipal bylaws, 9.1, 2023-07 in bylaw regulating proceeding of municipal council for the city of Bathurst. We will go to its first reading of bylaw 2023-07. Councillor Knowles.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that the proposed bylaw 2023-07 entitled "A Bylaw Regulating Proceedings of Municipal Council for the City of Bathurst" shall be read 3 times by title as per requirements specified in the Local Governance Act, Section 15(3), and that the above-mentioned proposed bylaw be examined by contacting the city clerk during regular office hours, and that the above-mentioned proposed bylaw shall be posted to the City of Bathurst website and Facebook page as per the Local Governance Act, Section 71C, and that the purpose of the aforementioned proposed bylaw is to establish a set of rules and procedures that govern how the City of Bathurst conducts its council meetings and makes decisions. Be it resolved that the proposed bylaw 2023-07 entitled "A Bylaw Regulating Proceedings of Municipal Council for the City of Bathurst" be read for the first time by title.
Perfect. May I have a seconder? Councillor Branch. Before we go to the question, we do have a question by Councillor Branch.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Not really a question, just a comment. I noticed when I was going through there that when the mayor is absent, like the deputy mayor can sit in her place, or both absent, somebody else can. So just when we look under, I think it's conduct in chambers, it references that if somebody's being disruptive, the mayor can ask them to be removed. I was just wondering if maybe that should be changed to the chair in case the mayor is absent.
Oh, Mr. Pettigrew, can I go to Monsieur Laplante?
Through to Mr. LaPlante.
Okay, all right, Monsieur Laplante.
There's pretty consistent language in the Local Governance Act that whoever is has the mayor's chair acts with the powers of the mayor for the duration of the debate. But we can certainly take another look just to make sure it is clear. If we need to adjust definitions, we can certainly do that.
No, that's all. Thank you.
All right. So are we ready for the question? Oh, Councillor Legacy.
I'm just curious if it'd be possible to well, go to a vote to make an amendment to change it from Wednesday to Mondays.
What?
The meetings, they say to be scheduled every Wednesday.
Okay,
I would propose keeping it at Monday.
all right. Yeah, all right. I need a seconder to change it to the Wednesday. To Monday, I'm sorry. Okay, there's no seconder. We're moving forward. Okay. So we'll go to the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Oppose?
Nay.
Okay. Motion carried by major yes. We are moving over, oops, sorry, I've got people laid up here, and then I try to give someone the mic, and then you lose connection because it doesn't allow me to have more than 4 mics on the go. So 9.2, 2023-08, a bylaw establishing a code of conduct for elected officials. So the first reading of bylaw 2023-01, Deputy Mayor Anderson.
Thank you, Your Worship. I move that the proposed bylaw 2023-08, entitled a bylaw establishing a code of conduct for elected officials, shall be read three times by title as per requirements specified in the Local Governance Act, Section 15(3), and that the above-mentioned proposed bylaw may be examined by contacting the city clerk during regular office hours, and that the above-mentioned proposed bylaw shall be posted to the City of Bathurst website and Facebook page as per the Local Governance Act, Section 71C, and that the purpose of the aforementioned proposed bylaw is to establish ethical standards and rules of conduct that guide and govern members with respect to their roles and responsibilities as elected representatives of the City of Bathurst. Be it resolved that the proposed bylaw 2023-08, entitled a bylaw establishing a code of conduct for elected officials, be read for the first time by title.
All right, may I have a seconder? Councillor Branch, you ready for the question? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion carried. Ms. Parker, we're going to DBRC objections. So the hearing of objections for DBRC 2024 budget.
A public notice was published for bylaw 2023-09, entitled a bylaw to approve the 2024 budget of the Downtown Revitalization Corporation and to establish a special business improvement area levy in the City of Bathurst. No written objections were received.
All right. So I invite members of the public to express their opinions to the proposed bylaw 2023-09, entitled the bylaw to approve the 2024 budget of the Downtown Revitalization Corporation and to establish a special business improvement area levy in the City of Bathurst. Je vais le lire pour une deuxième fois. J'invite les membres du public à donner leur opinion concernant la proposition de l'arrêté 2023-09, un arrêté pour approuver le budget 2024 de la CRCB et pour établir un prélèvement spécial pour la zone d'amélioration des affaires de la ville de Bathurst. Et une troisième fois, j'invite les membres du public à donner leur opinion concernant la proposition de l'arrêté 2023-09, un arrêté pour approuver le budget 2024 de la CRCB et pour établir un prélèvement spécial pour la zone d'amélioration des affaires de la ville de Bathurst. We have none. Move forward. 9.4, Proposal of Bylaw 2023-09, entitled the bylaw to approve the 2024 budget of the Downtown Revitalization Corporation and to establish a special business improvement area levy in the City of Bathurst. First reading of Bylaw 2023-09, Councillor Branch.
I move that the proposed bylaw 2023-09, entitled a bylaw to approve the 2024 budget of the Downtown Revitalization Corporation and to establish a special business improvement area levy in the City of Bathurst, shall be read 3 times by title as per requirements specified in the Local Governance Act, Section 15, subsection 3, and that the above-mentioned proposed bylaw may be examined by contacting the city clerk during regular office hours, and that the above-mentioned proposed bylaw shall be posted to the City of Bathurst website and Facebook page as per the Local Governance Act, Section 70, subsection 1C, and that the purpose of the above-mentioned proposed bylaw is to adopt the special business improvement levy in the city of Bathurst. Be it resolved that the proposed bylaw 2023-09, entitled "A Bylaw to Approve the 2024 Budget of the Downtown Revitalization Corporation and to Establish a Special Business Improvement Area Levy in the city of Bathurst," be read for the first time by title.
All right, may I have a seconder? Councillor Hondas? Any questions? Councillor Burnett?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I just would like to say that the Downtown Association has to be congratulated how they used their monies last year to do a fantastic job on activities throughout the summer and the year. And again, we're waiting for the Santa Claus parade to come up. Hopefully the weather will cooperate. But it's that group that's going to make that happen. So I went to their annual meeting the other night and was really upbeat, and there's new ideas coming up front for next year. So congratulations to that group.
Yes, they do a wonderful job, and thank you, Councillor Burnett, for going. It was my husband's birthday, and I chose to actually stay home for my husband's birthday instead of going to the AGM, which is the first AGM I've missed in years. But thank you for being there, and thank you for other councillors for being able to attend. So we will go to the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion carried. Proposed bylaw 2024-01, entitled "The Bylaw Respecting Water and Sewer Services and Charges in the City of Bathurst." We have a presentation by Madame Gauvin, Sonia Gauvin, our treasurer. Madame Gauvin, vous avez un micro.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I will just open the presentation. Thank you. Hi. So on October 11th, we presented a full detailed study relating to how the city charges property owners for water and sewer. At the end of that presentation, staff received the go-ahead to continue its analysis based on the recommended flat fee for residential users and continue with the metered fee for non-residential users. On October 30th, we presented a first format of what it would look like and how it would integrate within the 2024 budget. Both sessions can be accessed through our Facebook page. Today, we are ready to present the official proposed changes through the first reading of the new bylaw. But first, it's important to highlight the reasoning for the changes as well as provide some information on what it includes. So the explanation not only includes the bylaw itself, but a high-level summary of what was already presented. Throughout this whole study, the ultimate mission was to make our water and sewer billing easier, better for everyone, by shifting from the current labor-intensive metered system to a more straightforward and cost-effective service billing. If you refer to the October 11th presentation, you will remember that our current metered system is unpredictable, labor-intensive, and expensive. When we say unpredictable, we mean that the main source of revenues is highly volatile and unpredictable, where 28% of its revenue come from fixed connection fees and 72% come from consumption fees. When we say labor-intensive, we mean that invoicing is heavy administrative burden where you have the installation of the water meter, collection of readings, input of readings, the review of the data, repairs of the meter if necessary, print and send invoices, answer questions from customers, and finally collection of accounts receivable. And we're not even including the large amount of miscellaneous work required by a dedicated public works staff. When we say expensive, we mean that there are high administrative costs, and there is a critical need of investment in meters. On average, our meters are very old, and some taking back to 1982. It would require $2.2 million in investment plus additional fees just to bring our current meters up to date across the city. Those millions of dollars would be just to calculate what to charge our citizens, not even providing a better service or better water. Service billing offers a solution. We typically associate that the more water a user consumes, the more they should pay. This would validate a usage billing where meters are required to register how much water and sewer each user utilizes. Through this new bylaw, we are proposing to go to a service billing instead. This means that instead of paying for how much water is being used, customers would now pay for the service they are being provided with, either water, sewer, or both. This way, it ensures financial sustainability. Now, why are we proposing a service billing? Well, as the image shows, we have 28% of revenues that are fixed and as such predictable, and shown by the green drops on the left. The other portion, the 72% portion, is unpredictable because it depends on the usage of owners. We never know from year to year how many of those red drops we will receive to cover expenses. On a service billing, all revenues are fixed and would be 100% predictable, at least for the residential side, which make up 92% of the city's account. So again, 72% of the revenues are variable. Meanwhile, 97% of our expenses are fixed and only 3% are variable. This would mean that instead of charging one home more than the other, the whole cost to serve residential customers would be divided somewhat equally based on service delivery model. If this is not done, it will be extremely hard to maintain financial sustainability, especially with the city's aging infrastructure. When building the budget, the residential revenues required to cover the mentioned expenses are forecasted at $4,085,000. These are fixed expenses should be divided fairly across the 4,217 residential accounts based on the number of dwellings. Service billing is not just about balancing a budget. It also provides advantages for everyone. The first and more obvious one will be that residents will now know their exact annual billing costs, making it easier to budget. There will be no more nasty surprises on your bill because of leaks. Service billing also allows us to provide a new competitive water and sewer rates compared to many other municipalities in the province. Predictability allows us to provide even better rates, and we'll be introducing early payments incentive rebates as well as rebates for all seniors. I don't know if anyone noticed, but on the title page, we had the phrase, building our municipality together. Well, in this context, we want to encourage growth through higher density dwelling. This is why the more dwellings a building has, the larger the discount will be. We'll come back to that. Predictable revenues also allow for better investments in infrastructure. The way it stands now, revenues have been decreasing because of a decrease in consumption, which has translated in reduced infrastructure investments. This would now address that. We can't go into specific sections of the proposed bylaw without addressing environmental and operational concerns. Of course, we would not be recommending a service billing to the detriment of sustainability and environmental stewardship. So we thought that Mr. Abernethy could elaborate a little bit more on this.
Thank you, Sonia. Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. For everyone watching at home, my name is Matthew Abernethy. I'm the city engineer, so I'm in charge of the Operational Services Department. We just put together a few slides to address some of the environmental and operational concerns that may come up during this procedure. So hopefully we clarify some things. Just to start out with a little quote, as water and sewage systems age and usage patterns change, the challenge of funding a user pay system becomes more complex. In order to maintain our water and sewer networks, not only must we continue to develop more efficient maintenance strategies, but we must also ensure the system is properly funded through a cost recovery framework which ensures fairness to the users and financial sustainability for the system. And a lack of responsible fiscal planning would result in declining water quality and significantly increased user costs. So a quick note here is just to say that even though we are implementing this new framework or proposing this new framework, you know, the work behind the scenes of Public Works is certainly going to continue as far as trying to provide the best service possible, you know, with whatever funding model is provided. So just a nod to the folks down there that are doing their best to provide the best quality we can. So a quick overview of the system. So the raw water source for the city of Bathurst potable water system is Middle River. We've got an intake gallery there which feeds into 2 reservoirs just above our water treatment plant, which you see in the background there. That's our lower reservoir. In the water treatment plant, the water is treated, it's pressurized, sent out into the distribution network, sent into people's homes where it's used, and then sent back through our sewage collection system, and then into our wastewater treatment plant, where it's then treated and returned into the environment. All right. So we did a little bit of a Q&A to kind of answer some questions ahead of time here. So how is the utility system funded? So the water and sewer services within the city of Bathurst are funded 100% by the users. So very important to understand that the city of Bathurst has 2 budgets. We've got the general budget and the utilities budget. The general budget is funded 100% by the property taxes, where that budget includes your snow removal, your street repairs, your recreation facilities, your refuse collection. And then there's the utility budget, and the utilities budget is funded 100% by the water bills that people receive in home. So there's no other funding to kind of top up where things are missing on the utility side. So whatever is used on the utility side, it needs to be funded by the utility side. Okay, so very important to understand that there's not really anybody else here to pay for these systems. So the only way in which the city can account for an increased operational cost is by either raising the price of water or selling more water. Obviously, selling more water is kind of out of our hands, right? I mean, that's more of an economic growth thing, and it's something that's not super easy to handle on our side of things. So increasing the price is really the only other option we have in this model, right? So with usage-based systems, when you raise the price, you decrease demand, right? So which lowers consumption, negating the price increase, and this creates a gap in revenues. So over the last few years, there's been some pretty significant price increases due to operational costs and requirements, and what we've seen has been a drastic reduction in consumption. Right? So in the last, just to put some context together, in the last 15 years or so, we've seen a drop in consumption from about 9 million liters a day leaving our water treatment plant down to between 5 and 6 million liters a day. So part of that is some major users that have moved on, but also significant more water savings and reduction in consumption. So will the city be able to keep up with increased demand? So many might think that, well, if we remove our water meters, everybody's going to go crazy with their water and start watering their lawn every day and washing their cars and whatnot. Obviously, we don't anticipate that happening. We anticipate most people to kind of go about their lives and live normally. But at the end of the day, if people do go a little crazy with it, we're running right now at about 50% of our output capacity at our water treatment plant. We've got significant capacity there, and we're not concerned whatsoever about the increased demand. In recent years, the consumption has reduced so much that the maintenance crews have had to do extra flushing on top of our regular flushing program in order to maintain that level of fresh water in the system. So at the end of the day, our water network is quite vast, and we need to keep that pressurized with fresh water. We're not able to let that water sit there for longer than 7 days. So if that water is not consumed by the residents, it's flushed out by our maintenance crews regardless. So something to keep in mind when we're talking about demand. Right now, we're not using enough water to be able to maintain our system properly. So an increase in demand is actually going to be a good thing for us. But at the end of the day, we don't anticipate a major uptick anyway. What we're looking at with your water is it's one of the things that's obviously essential for a household, but it's one of the cheapest things that is essential for a household, right? If you look at your cable bill, your phone bill, your cell bill, your mortgage, all these things are significantly more expensive than your water bill. So we don't expect people to really go crazy because they're paying an extra, $50 or so per year on their water bill. So something to keep in mind. Isn't the potential of increased usage bad for the environment? Again, going back to the size of our network and how much we need to flush to maintain that freshness in the system, we don't see an uptick in how much water is actually being produced and treated and sent out there into the system. So a slight impact of amount of water that might get treated at our wastewater treatment plant at the end of the day, but really a negligible amount. And there's a couple of more notes here about that 7 days that needs to maintain fresh water in our water network. So at the end of the day, the increased consumption would actually help reduce the age of the water in the system and help the city attain its guidelines for water age. So there's been a little bit of chatter in the media lately about other municipalities considering moving away from the flat rate system. I think Sonia did a great job earlier of describing how our fixed costs are there relative. That might be the difference between us and other municipalities. So important to remember that we make our own water. We go get that water from a raw water source. We have to maintain that raw water source. We have to maintain our water network. These are all fixed costs, whereas a municipality that buys their water from another municipality, if they buy 5 million liters a day, they have to pay for 5 million liters a day. If they buy 10 million liters a day, they have to pay for 10 million liters a day. So obviously a consumption there would be a direct reduction of their cost to acquire water. Whereas if we treat 5 million liters a day, it costs us X. If we treat 10 million liters a day, it costs us X plus 3%, right? So,
Mr. Abernathy, if I
yes.
can add, so just as an example, Dieppe buys water from Moncton.
Yes.
So of course, they are looking at doing a pilot program because they pay based on consumption.
Exactly.
So when
Yeah.
we're using examples, this is a perfect example.
Exactly.
Dieppe pays water
Yeah.
to Moncton. They don't pay for any of the infrastructure. Moncton has all the infrastructure.
They do have a network, but
Yeah.
they don't, to acquire the water, they buy it from the city of Moncton.
Yeah.
And again, they're looking at pilot projects because they want to make sure that all of this investment is worth it. I wouldn't be surprised at the end of the day, like Ms. Govan described earlier, with the amount of water meters that need to be installed, with the amount of administrative work that has to go into it. And she spoke about our dedicated public works employees. This is a daily thing. We're going to houses every single day, working, well, not every day, but 3 or 4 times a week, dealing with water meters. So these are people that could be out there, working on the quality of our water network and performing essential maintenance to our system, but instead they're going and fixing leaky meters or checking to see if meters are reading properly or not. And we really don't feel like it's an effective use of our time. So just that savings, we feel, is almost worth this big change. But so that's all I had for today. If there's any questions now, I'd like to cover them, but I'll hand it back to Sonia.
I figure what we'll do is we'll let Madame Gauvin finish her presentation, and then from there we'll go to questions. So council, please note of your questions, and then once Madame Gauvin, because she might be answering some of the questions that you may have.
I will not let him go far. I will lock the doors. I'm fine. No trouble in doing it. So service billing requires a new and improved bylaw. So we introduce bylaw number 2024-1, a bylaw respecting water and sewer services and charges in the city of Bathurst. Some key highlights of the new proposed bylaw. With passage of bylaw 2024-1, bylaw 2004-1 will be repealed on December 31st, 2023. So yes, you will still receive your invoice for Zone 3 in December if you're in that zone, in November for Zone 2. A bylaw 2024-01 lists all the fixed charges related to water and sewer services. All residential customers have access to having access to a connection to the system will be on fixed rates. These rates can be found in the next slide, or if you look in the bylaw, would be included in Schedule A. There are new definitions of residential units. So we have single-family residence, multi-unit condos, etc. Rebates include existing guaranteed income supplement, but we are introducing new rebates for all seniors 65 years and older. And we're also introducing a new yearly rebates available for all customers. I will detail those a little bit in a few. The section on water leaks will be completely removed as it would no longer apply. Non-residential users will be billed using a metered system. However, they would be billed monthly instead of quarterly, helping them spot leaks much quicker than what it is now. And it would be an introduction of a new non-residential monthly rate instead of the quarterly fixed rate plus the consumption. On October 30th, we presented an initial draft for different rates. Since then, we looked at individual connection fees and made some modifications accordingly. So we sat down and really looked what kind of connections further these types of building really have. And it really didn't mandate. There was an increase when we gained to 4 units, I think, and above 5, I don't remember quick, but there was an increasing rate when you looked at the 2 to 4 units and the 5 units. We adjusted those according to the consumption because we really started looking at what type of consumption those buildings would have. And this is a review of it. We are also now ready to divide the fees between water and sewer. So to be clear, if an owner currently only pays for water services or only sewage services, they will only pay for that portion. So when we talk about the 825, sure, people have heard about the 825, and they say, well, I only pay for something right now, and now it's going to jump to 825. Well, maybe you've only been receiving water services, and that would continue. The charge for a connection, so if someone who has access to a connection but chooses not to connect to the system, because we do have those types of accounts, they would pay the base amount of $336 when having access to both water and sewer. Currently, the total yearly charge is $381, so that would mean a decrease for them. And the charge for a single unit would be $825 divided between water and sewer. Again, if you are currently only paying for water, then you will continue to pay only for water, and the charge would be $429.69. When looking at this table, the same goes for the sewage services. Considering the savings in the number of connections required for multi-unit buildings, a building of having 2 to 4 units would pay $657 per unit instead of the $825. If 5 units or more, then the amount would decrease to $598 per year. And this way, we encourage the growth we referred to earlier and minimize the impacts on a tenant because of this transition. So it really is a decreasing as you go. We should specify that if someone who stays at a property only during the summer and connects for only 6 months, for example, you would receive the full per unit charge prorated to the time you are connected. And the other 6 months, if you are unconnected by the city, you would pay for the basic charge prorated for that time frame. So what would 1 unit represent for a residential owner? We'll do a brief overview, but the full definitions are in the attached bylaw. A single family resident like the one shown here would represent 1 unit and thus would pay $825 for their residence if they receive both water and sewer services, that is. If you have a condominium, since you are the owner of the condo, you will pay 1 unit just the same as though you were a single dwelling. The reason for this is that in the case of a condominium, each dwelling has its own independent connection. So if you don't pay your bill, your neighbor won't be shut off. Whereas as an apartment, if the whole building has an amount due, the whole building would be affected by it. So it has its own independent connection, and each property owner receives, per unit, receives its own utility invoice. So for a condominium, each unit would also pay the rate of $825 if they receive both water and sewer services. In a mini home park, each property owner also receives its own invoice and separate connection. So in this picture, you would have 9 single dwellings, and they would each pay $825 per unit if they receive both water and sewer services. However, in this scenario here, you would have many separate multi-units on the same property. So in this example, we have 1 property, but 4 duplexes. Since each has 2 units, they would pay the rate identified for the 2 to 4 units for each of the separate buildings, not the cumulative of all of them together. So this is not an 8-unit category. This is a 4 times 2 to 4 unit category. So because of their shared connection, they would pay the discounted rate of $657 per unit. So duplex number 1 would pay 2 times $657 for that 1 building. A multi-unit building or an apartment building like this one would be 1 unit per dwelling. So if, for example, like in this building, there are 9 dwellings, they would share a connection and can divide these fees even further. This means they would be in a category 5 units and up, and would pay the discounted rate of $5.98 per unit if they receive both water and sewer services. When we take those rates per unit and compare them with other municipalities, we can say that they are well within competitive range and that we are not trying to charge more than we need to. So we can see the historical value for the average consumption we've been talking about from 2021 to 2023. That's based on the consumption. And as you can see, with decreasing consumption, we've had to increase the rates quite a bit. So when we take those rates per unit, you can consider the same amount of median consumption. So if you go to Moncton or Riverview and you translate our average 27,000 imperial gallons to their fees, this is what it gives. So for Riverview, it gives $912 per year. In Dieppe, $948 with a discount of 5% if paid in full before February 15th. St. John, $1,428 per year. Moncton, which have a metered system, would be $892 in 2023. They just increased this amount in their last budget. Fredericton is metered with groundwater, which enables them to have a rate of $737, and they have also been talking about increases. Miramichi have some meters as well as fixed. They have a mixed format. When looking at the fixed, the fees for 2023 was $784. Beresford is all fixed at $834. Edmundston has a mix of metered and fixed, but the fixed is at $795. It should be mentioned that all of those municipalities, from what we have been able to see, the same rate applies regardless of how many units are in a building. Whereas in the format we are presenting, we have discounted rates the more units you have. So earlier on, we mentioned that we would be introducing new rebates. The first one we are introducing is a 5% yearly rebate if the account is paid in full before February 28th of that year. This can be combined with the other rebates that we are mentioning below. Another new rebate would be for all owners of a single dwelling 65 years of age or older. Instead of only receiving a discount if you are entitled to the guaranteed supplement income, all seniors would receive 10% yearly rebate if they contact the city. On an $825 invoice, this would mean $82.50. Since this is a new rebate for all, but is still lower than the one already offered now to a very limited number of the population, we did not want to remove what we have now as well. So if you are an owner 65 years and older and provide proof of eligibility to receive an allowance under the guaranteed income supplement, we will continue to offer the currently yearly rebate of $221.80 for water and sewer instead of the newly introduced 10% rate. You may ask, could we give more? Well, the answer is yes, but don't forget that the budget still needs to balance, and it is a user-pay system. This would mean increasing the rates for everyone else under 65 to cover for this amount. Plus, since the bait rates would have to increase higher than $825 for everybody, then the rebate, although bigger, would end up having the same net impact in the owner's pocket. This is why we're suggesting this format. Before we get to the one slide for non-residential, I would like to address a question that's been brought to our attention frequently since the last presentation. We're a small household, so why are we paying the same as a large family? Fairness in billing is important to us as well. That's why we're transitioning from a usage billing to a service billing approach. This will also require a shift in mindset. Think of water and sewer as a service that's being provided with a monthly subscription fee, rather than a commodity with a fluctuation market value. Ultimately, the cost to bring water service to your home is the same as the one required to the home of your neighbor. This new billing approach would reflect exactly that. So we talked in length about the changes for the residential. This slide brings back what we already provided last time with the monthly rate for the non-residential. Just as a reiteration, that's what's reflected in the bylaw, and those are the monthly rate that would be charged accordingly, instead of the quarterly rate that used to be shown before. Should council vote to approve the first reading of bylaw 2024-01, we are ready to publish a citizen's guide. Shout out to JS, I know you're watching from home, who did this quality work, to which council already has a printed copy. Residents will be able to view it on the city's website and on social media. As well, citizens will be able to view this presentation in a video form as a standalone cut from the live public meeting. This is the complete final presentation relating to this change before the first reading of the proposed bylaw. It includes a fair rate because it would now be based on service billing instead of usage billing and would be in line with our expense distribution. Predictable rates also allows us to provide rebates for all citizens for yearly early payments and rebates for all seniors without penalizing the ones already receiving one. We believe that the change shown in this new bylaw will meet the mission we set out to meet to begin with, which was to make our water and sewer billing easier and better for everyone by shifting from the current labor-intensive metered system to a more straightforward and cost-effective service billing. That's it.
All right. So Madame Gauvin, what I'm going to ask is maybe you can sit down and then we'll go, if council has questions, instead of having you stand there, you stand long enough. We've had you stand meeting after meeting. Have a seat, have your cup of coffee, and then we'll open the floor for questions. Before we go, Mr. Pettigrew?
Thank you, Worship. I just wanted to echo some of the comments I heard this evening as well from some of the staff. Mr. Abernathy did mention that in the 2024 budget, his expenses haven't changed from 2023, but because of the cost of the loss of consumption of water, because it's user pay, that's why we see it a requirement of an increase. The stuff is expensive. We have a huge asset management deficit of what we require. We have a large infrastructure in our city, of the same as a big city. So, you know, from an engineering point of view, he does well at maintaining stuff, but we need to make sure we have funds there to protect our assets, to make sure we continue to spend money, to ensure that we continue to have great water. So if he has any more comments on that, I think it would be important to just kind of update on what our infrastructure is, but I think it's really important that it's a user pay. We have a huge infrastructure. It's aging. We want to make sure we're ahead of the curve. We don't want to be caught in a situation where we have to play catch up.
We're about $137 million in aging infrastructure right now at the City of Bathurst. And as the presentation showed a while ago, we cannot take money from an operation fund to cover utility. It doesn't work that way. Mr. Abernathy, did you want to add before we go to questions at council?
Sure, thank you, Madam Mayor. Another thing to keep in mind too is that the demographics of Bathurst and how Bathurst came to grow and the years in which it came to grow. If you look at the years of the age of our infrastructure, 1968 until 1974 was an absolute boom for Bathurst. It blew up. There was kilometers and kilometers and kilometers of water pipe that went into the ground during those years. Those are all coming due at the same time, and that's something that's very concerning for us. You know, water pipe isn't something that automatically at 40 years breaks, but you certainly are going to see a higher frequency in water breaks and lower quality water. And so that's why over the last number of years, if we're being asked at the end of the year to cut back on our maintenance, then we're just falling further and further behind. You're seeing us now come back with unidirectional flushing and things like that. These are things that we used to do, and when budgets were cut, we were basically asked to stop doing that, right? And that was years ago. And so now that we're getting back into it, our costs are getting back in line with where they need to be, and that's why we keep coming to you saying, you know, we need these increases. So it's not because somebody's patting their pockets or anything. It's this budget is 100% goes directly towards the maintenance and improvements of the infrastructure to make sure that we have a quality product out there for the citizens. So I just wanted to put that out there, that there's some asset management work that's going on right now that's going to be able to pinpoint a little closer what our infrastructure investment requirements are going to be over the next 15 or 20 years, and I think it's going to be a very scary picture. So we need to get out ahead of that as soon as we can, basically.
Perfect. Thank you. Deputy Mayor Anderson.
Oh, I'm first? I thought you would have been lit right up.
No, you were the first one lit up.
Wow. I appreciate all the work. I understand I understand the severity of the issue. I don't disagree with the flat rate system. I almost wish that we would have been able to start these discussions earlier in the year, because for me there's so many unknowns and so many variables yet that I would probably like to have answers to before like jumping into this during a full-blown budget process. First question I have is, what if we weren't looking at a fixed rate system, what would be the increase that we would be looking at percentage wise?
Thank you. So I haven't calculated the exact increase, but I can already tell you that we would be requesting an additional administrative position because we cannot do the full process. We're a backlog. We would have to invest in all of these broken meters, which is not even to replace the ones that are still functioning but are close to break, but we have a lot that are really already broken where we would have to change, and that's at a cost of $500 per meter without installation. We would probably require this additional public works crew, because just to maintain all of those meters that needs to be fixing, like Mr. Abernathy said, they go 3 or 4 times a week, just look at meters, and sometimes it's a quick visit, sometimes it's a long visit. That's not even addressing all the time that staff is spending answering phone calls for citizens that unfortunately had major leaks, and they are requiring a lot of our time because for good reasons. It's a big bill that they have had a surprise, so we send public crews to check the meter. We do all of that. There's multiple, we have the one-time credit that we installed this year, but even those require back and forth phone calls, emails, approval, sending everybody. So it's still a lot of additional costs just related to the invoice. So I don't have the specific increase because we would have to do a budget that had that in it, but we are at the tipping point where if we don't do that, then we may be charging things, but it doesn't mean that we will be able to collect them. So we're kind of at that tipping point.
What do you mean we wouldn't be able to collect them?
We have accounts that we presented on October 11th that need to be collecting. We can't get to doing the collection of these accounts because we keep spending the time on property transfers, addressing the leak calls, doing all of that invoicing just because of the metered system. If it's all on fix, those go quicker and they're processed faster, and then we can get to collecting accounts and getting the money into what people owe. But the more backlog we get, the more difficult it will get to citizens because they're paying interest on those backlog fees. So it'll get even more difficult, not only for the city, but for the property owners as well, who have all those backlogs of backed up interest.
I think for me, my biggest issue, like I said, I don't disagree with you, Sonia, about the fixed rate. I understand this 97% versus the 3%. I get it. But for me, I was very grateful to see the 10% added for those seniors over the age of 65. I thought that was a good start, so I was grateful to see that. But I think my biggest issue with it currently is that I feel that the lower income and the seniors under 65 are the ones that's going to be taking the hardest hit. And I know for some people, it's maybe only a few extra dollars a month, $10, $20 extra a month, whatever the case may be. But some people are buying their groceries and they're putting things back on the shelf because they can't afford to buy it. And that's where that's my biggest issue. For me, it's my conscience with this one, just knowing the financial hardships that so many people are under. I look at apartment buildings, like I know one building in particular is going to see an increase of about $20,000 a year. The people that live in this building are on social assistance. Where's the money going to come from to pay for it? So that's where my apprehension is. I totally agree with where you and Matt are coming with on this. I'm not disagreeing with that at all. But for me, I'm thinking about, I feel like the people that are there's gonna be people that, have the swimming pools and the hot tubs that they're using lots of water currently are gonna probably see a reduction, but it's the people that are the low-income people or the senior citizens on fixed incomes that are gonna be impacted the most, and that's where I have my issue. That's my hang-up right now that I'm having a hard time getting past.
All right. Good. Councilor Burnett?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Thanks for your presentation. Well done. A couple of questions I have. Are we going to be saving a lot of salaries because of this? If we need all these people now and maybe need more, so with fixed rates, are we going to be dropping quite a bit of money in salaries?
We wouldn't be dropping in salaries. It would prevent us from adding some.
We won't be dropping any salary?
No, because we would still need to, we have only one person doing the billing, so we would still have to do the billing. But we would require another administrative person to be able to help that first person do the full process. We'd have to have additional staff to change all of those meters at Public Works probably. So it's not a decrease in the staff we are now. Right now, we are operating as though all the meters are operating correctly, as though we have a very efficient system and everything is flowing fluently. But as we've shown on October 11th, we have tripled the property transfers that we have. So it's taking out 1/3 of their full year just for property transfers. So it wouldn't be a reduction in staff. It would prevent us from having to add some.
I've talked to some people. A lot of people are talking about this issue. And they say, they've been waiting 4 years to get their meter fixed, or 4 years to get their little box on the wall fixed, and nobody's coming to fix it in all that time. We don't have enough people even to do that.
We don't have enough meters.
Have enough meters, but I mean the readers, that you put on the outside of your house. One guy said 4 years now his has not been working, and he's tried to get it repaired, but
When it's a meter that is a replacement, the city operates the cost.
Madame Gauvin, I'll go to Mr. Abernathy that
thank you.
can answer that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Worship. To answer your first question, where you were talking about saving some salaries and whatnot, at the utility level at Public Works, we're grossly understaffed already, and it flows into your second question, where there's been people waiting for all these things to happen. We have staff that are dedicated to these things, and they'll get started on a list, and then a water leak will come up, and they'll get pulled off of that. So that's the kind of stuff where we do not have the staff currently to be able to do what we're being asked to do on the water meter side of things. So that's why that backlog is coming up. That's why we're having such a difficult time allocating staff. This year was particularly bad. We've already discussed the manpower issues that we had this year, but to allocate staff to complete a maintenance program for 2 months or 3 months or whatever's required, we don't have the capacity in the utility budget right now. If I would have allocated those staff away from the general side into the utility side, Sonia would have been knocking on my door saying, you are running out of money in utility, you need to stop now. So we're grossly underfunded on the utility side as far as manpower is concerned, and that's where that lack of being able to get through to get those water meters done, we don't have the people to send there to do that. So that's why
And
it's
Mr.
difficult.
Abernathy, you don't have 100 water meters at $500 each sitting there. 'Cause
We do
don't
have a small stock, yes.
Yeah, but
It's more of a manpower issue, yeah.
Okay.
then the question I have, Mr. Abernathy, is can we produce less water? We're producing way over what we can sell and what we need. Why don't we produce less, which would be less cost?
No, that's not actually correct. So the production of water is very much a fixed cost. It's 97% fixed. So yes, producing a little bit less water would show a small savings. But what we need to remember here is that our network is vast, right? It's quite a large network, and that network needs to stay pressurized at all times. And no water inside that network is allowed to get more than 7 days old. So if it's not used, we have to get out there and flush it, which means we have to treat more water to repressurize the system once it's flushed. So even if nobody was using any water, then we would continually still have to be flushing our system and our revenues from water sales would plummet, and the system would absolutely collapse. So if consumption rates continue to go in the same way they are and revenues continue to drop, we're headed down the wrong path here. Like we have to be able to maintain our system at a certain level of quality at all times. And if we don't do that, then we're going to run into quality issues. We're going to run into low chlorine residuals. We're going to run into a host of problems. So there's a minimum standard we need to maintain there, which is a minimum amount of water that we need to send out into the system. So that cost is absolutely fixed. That's a hard floor on what we can produce. We can't go lower than that.
I have a number of other questions. You want to go around and come back to me?
Oh,
or?
you're there, you got the mic. I'll
Okay.
move around afterwards.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. The meters that people that leave after 6 months or whatever, and they want them disconnected and then reconnected when they come back in 6 months. If we don't have the manpower now to fix the meters that we have and the instruments that read them, how are we going to do that? And is there a cost for disconnecting and connecting, which would add to their water bill?
That's a good question. Mr. Pettigrew?
I think you're through to Mr. Abernathy.
Mr. Abernathy?
It's a great question. We don't have a huge number of people that do that disconnection. It's mostly the seasonal properties down at the beach. They get together and they have a person that kind of handles all of that and then brings it to us and says, okay, on these days, can you send somebody? And so they're going house to house to house to house all in 1 or 2 days. So that's why we're able to allocate somebody to go do that work at that time. And when they do that, there is a cost. There's a cost to disconnect. There's a cost to reconnect. Anytime a city employee goes to your house at your request for something that you're looking to do, there is a cost there, yeah.
So that 825 would go up accordingly?
No. No, it would go down, actually. So let's say somebody has a water and sewer connection and they're only in town for 6 months. They would pay 6 months at the full 825 rate, which is for $12.50, whatever it is. And then for the other 12 months, they would only pay that lowest fee at the top of the bar there. That was the connection fee. So they would pay 6 months at the full rate and then 6 months at the non-connected rate, I guess you'd say. But they would also pay to have us go there, shut their water off, and come back and turn their water back on.
Like they do now.
Exactly.
And that adds up, I think. From
It'll be
people
cheaper.
I mean, just to send our crews there to do disconnect and crews there to connect, there's a cost to that.
There is.
A cost for us?
Yes.
It's covered by the charge to the resident, yeah.
Now, say if a person is going down south for the winter and they're gone for 4 months, can they do the same thing?
Same thing.
They can, yeah.
And they still pay to disconnect and pay to connect?
They do, yes.
Okay. Water quality has been an issue for the last year or so, and your flushing seems to be working, but you're flushing out an awful lot of treated water to get the water quality up. And I've heard since this came about that brown water is still there in some homes, many homes,
Mm-hmm.
What are we doing with that?
Groundwater?
Yeah, how are we taking care of that? Like, when I looked at my water this morning in my downstairs area, there was a coloration to it.
Okay.
Yeah, so why? It's all new plumbing in my street.
Probably because of the water usage.
I'm not quite sure I understand your question. There's a discoloration in your PEX, or?
In the water itself, it's got a tint.
Oh, you've got brown water. Okay, well, like we said, our water quality maintenance over the last 10 or 15 years has certainly been lacking. We're trying to catch back up to that. There could be any number of reasons why there was dirty water. I don't know if there's a water leak in the area or something like that. I'm not aware of what was going on today. But there's a number of reasons why you would see dirty water every once in a while. It's certainly not something that we would expect residents to accept having multiple times a month or anything like that. But in any distribution system, there is certainly going to be times where there's dirty waters. I've consulted with other municipalities, and it's certainly the norm across the province. But certainly not something we would expect people to deal with monthly on a monthly basis. I think in some areas of the city right now, that's where we're at. And certainly not acceptable in my eyes, and that's why we're working so hard with these maintenance programs to try and improve that. But unfortunately, we're looking at probably a 2 to 3 year turnaround from now until we can get through the whole city and that flushing system to hopefully get that cleaned up. And also, like I mentioned, that west booster station is going to help that issue as well by stabilizing pressures across the city. So that's a work in progress. I wish I had better answers for you, but unfortunately, the system has gotten to a point that we're playing catch up right now. We're on our way, but we still have work to do.
Thank you. For Mrs. Go, you say that there's so much paperwork you can't keep up with the demands, and yet we're going to go to a rebate system where we're going to have all kinds of people applying for rebates, or are we going to have less paperwork or more paperwork?
It's absolutely less, because when the invoices are programmed at the end of the year instead of programming every month, what we need to remember is when we look at the process, every month we're looking at every account's consumption and seeing, does that make sense? Does that make sense? One by one by one by one, we have about 1,500 per month going through right now, versus when we apply the rebate, we program it once and it's done, and it's applied going forward. So it saves quite a bit.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Councillor Knowles.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I guess I'll start out with a comment. The City of Bathurst, we have a $137 million deficit infrastructure. Going to a flat rate system is not going to fix that. That's not going to change anything. Just a comment on that. For me, it's an issue of fairness throughout the system. To me, 4 out of 5 people are going to end up paying substantially more than what they're paying right now, anywhere from 25%, 40, 50%. I just find that's a lot to bear for the majority of our users. I just don't think it's right. I know revenue's got to match up with our expenses year over year, but if there's a shortfall at the end of the year, if our consumption doesn't match up, why can't we increase it by 2% or 3%, whatever it has to be? Not this dramatic increase. I just find it's too much to bear for most of the users in the current system.
Councillor Knowles, did you have a question? Because right now we'll go to the debate after. Right now we're going to the question period.
Okay. On the seniors rebate, 65 plus, 10% off. So if seniors paying $600 now, and say they have to go to $825, even with that rebate, they're still going to end up paying $740 or $750, which is still 15 to 20% more what they're paying now. That's all I have to say for now.
All right. Councillor Willett.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Well, I've been here since 2018. We've had water issues since then. We've ran out of money many times, many years since then. So I think this is the way to go. All the seniors that I've dealt with and the people that I've dealt with are people that got surprises for $1,500 water bills or $1,200 water bills that you really can't budget on. So I see it the other way. I see it as a fix to fix our problem with our water problems. So.
Conseiller Leblanc.
Merci, Madame la mairesse. Juste une question sur un commentaire qui a été donné, mais je veux juste m'assurer, parce que si j'ai bien compris tout à l'heure, les gens de 65 ans et plus, ils vont avoir le 10%, mais s'ils payent, mettons qu'ils font des paiements mensuels comme la majorité des gens, ou trimestriels, ils vont avoir 5% par-dessus ça aussi, right? Donc 15%.
Non.
Vous avez le micro,
donc,
madame.
si la facture est payée au complet, donc c'est une facture annuelle qui sera envoyée à la fin janvier. Si cette facture-là est payée au complet avant le 28 février, ils auraient le 5% d'appliquer automatiquement. No questions asked. Mais si c'est sur un mensuel, là, ça serait le 825 divisé par 12. Puis le seniors rebate s'appliquerait sur le 10%.
Mais le 5%, comme si tu le payes à tous les mois, tu es toujours à jour. Tu n'es jamais en retard.
Non, le 5%, ça serait tu payes le 8,25
à l'avance.
Moins le rate à l'avance, complètement ta facture, tu n'as plus rien à payer le restant de l'année. C'est comme un incentive pour réduire les facturations des mois suivants, tout ça. Donc, on a
celui-là, je l'aime moins parce que ça donne moins de chance aux gens qui sont sur des budgets stables, comme les gens de 65 ans et plus, eux autres.
Le 65 ans, excusez, 65 ans et plus, ils qualifient pour 10%, oui, mais ils n'ont pas besoin de le payer tout d'une shot.
Non, mais s'ils veulent le 5% de plus, il faut qu'ils le payent tout d'une shot.
Oui.
Les autres, ils ont un chèque mensuel qui est
ouais.
un montant fixe.
Ouais.
C'est un peu plus difficile pour eux autres de demander d'aller payer ça. Moi, je pensais que ce que tu me disais, c'était s'ils payent, si ton compte est toujours à jour, Là, tu le sauves, mais là, c'est pas vraiment le cas, c'est s'il est payé à l'avance.
Non, c'est plutôt un incitatif qui réduit, veut pas, les coûts reliés à la facturation pour les mois suivants, puis aussi le risque de collection qu'il faut pour collecter les comptes aussi.
L'autre question, juste pour être clair aussi, si aujourd'hui on décide, mettons qu'on déciderait non, on va pas de l'avant avec cette proposition ici. Ça semble être clair avec les 3 rencontres qu'on a eues. On va avoir, à un moment donné, les citoyens vont avoir un frais de 2,1 millions pour renouveler les meters. Fait que ça, si je prends juste les 4200 maisons que vous avez parlé, on parle de 500$ par logement. J'ai bien raison. Environ.
Plus l'installation et
oui.
tout. C'est sûr et certain qu'on ne peut pas tout faire ça dans une année. Ça
Je
sera
comprends ça,
progressif.
là. Mais on parle d'une augmentation. Chaque demeure devra payer ça.
Plus le frais administratif pour continuer à faire le système administratif. Oui.
Parfait. Merci.
Okay. Councillor Hondas.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just got a question on the, if you pay it before February 28th. How did you come up with that date? And can that be maybe in a little bit longer? Because like Deputy Mayor Anderson, there's a lot of people that don't have the 825 or minus the 5% to pay. So why did we just go like for a month? Can't we give a little bit more time for a person to?
So the ones that we saw is pretty early on in the year. Invoices go out normally at the end of the month, so let's say January 31st. It's every invoice normally is paid 30 days after. So if the person doesn't pay the full amount, they would at least need to pay the 1/12 of the amount for where they are. But if they don't, then we have no indication if they will pay the full amount or just the monthly amount. So that's the reason for that. And as well, the reason for the rebate is as an incentive to reduce everything that comes after during the year for those accounts that we can.
Okay. And now, if we don't accept the way that we want to go, there's going to be an increase of X amount of percentage this year, again next year, and then next year. If we go to this route, it's going to be like this and no augmentation next year or the year after, right? Is that?
I will never be able to predict because of inflation. I do not control inflation, but the increasing rates would certainly not be because of a reduction of consumption. Right now, we don't know, if you remember the red and the green drops, we have no idea how many red drops we will be able to generate as a revenue stream, and we need to balance the budget. So every time we are based on consumption, that's an unpredictable amount. So it would alleviate or take out of the equation the unpredictability of it, and the rates would not increase because of the consumption.
Okay. Because I know since we've been here in 2016, we've had a big increase because unfortunately we had to play catch up. Fortunately for councils passed, but we have to think of it in the general fund. So the money that we'd be saving or getting with this particular fixed rate would help fix the infrastructure, or a bunch of it could go to that. So we'd have less chance of the brown water and better quality. Our water's good, but you know we've had people, Facebook lights up every time there's somebody has brown water in their washroom, and so would that alleviate some of that, or would that help, or would having a bank that we could go to fix these problems? And like you said, Mr. Abernathy, we're online for big repairs there if all our infrastructure would end up falling apart all at one time.
Yeah. Thanks, Madam Mayor. So what Sonia was getting at with that, you know, the fixed versus the flat and the unpredictability of the revenues is whenever we had implemented those large rate increases, the following years came back with significant reductions in consumption, right? And so we never received the funding that in this room was decided, okay, you guys need this much money, here we go, we're going to give you this rate so you'll be able to go get it. We didn't get that because consumption rates dropped, right? And so whenever consumption rates drop, and let's say we end up at the end of the year, the numbers that have been floating around have been $250,000, $300,000 worth of revenue that we're short every year for the last couple of years. You know, those numbers transfer over to the following year, right? So that number's divided by 4 and has to be paid for in the following years. So you're never getting ahead whenever you're this guesswork of, okay, well, let's set a rate and let's hope that the people consume. and then you get a wet summer like we got this summer, and nobody washes their car, nobody waters their lawns, nobody fills their pools, and our consumption's way down again. So that's something that, you know, it's not a rate thing, it's just a human behavior thing. We can't control that. And so now, all of a sudden, we're behind again, and we just did all these rate hikes. What we're proposing here is at the end of the year, it does not matter what our consumption is, it doesn't matter how much water is used. You know, there's a little bit on the commercial side, but at the end of the day, we know that our budgets are going to end up here. So I can allocate staff and maximize their time maintaining the water networks, knowing that at the end of the year, we're going to have that money available and not get hit in October saying, hey, you've got to save $240,000. That's the kind of stuff that this will alleviate for us, and it will free up our employees to be able to allocate the money needed. It's not to say that next year the rate won't be $8.28, $8.29. You know, we're not saying that. At the end of the day, if costs go up and go, like inflation continues or whatnot, the costs are essentially going to continue to increase. There's no doubt about that. I mean, that's just a fact of life. And so, but what we're talking about is now increasing by a reasonable amount every year, you know, 2%, 3%, to keep up with those costs, as opposed to having to put in 15%, 16%, 17% jumps. What those do are really affect the people that don't have a choice to use that water or not, right? They are now bearing the brunt of those increases, as opposed to the people that are able to conserve water and not pay that money. But at the end of the day, those people are costing the city just as much as those big users. So it's not really fair in that sense. So this is introducing an equilibrium into the system so that everybody pays their fair share, essentially. And hopefully at the end of the day, we can get that maintenance up to where we eliminate those brown water instances.
Yeah, I'm going to say, like Deputy Mayor Anderson, it would have been nice to have been able to get this before, then hash it out, because, you know, we've all had a lot of questions on it, and a lot of people are concerned. There are seniors, a very important part of our community, single mothers, fathers, you know, they all have restricted budgets. So I'm glad to see that we did, you know, increase the 10% for the seniors. But once again, and I stated it last time, I have faith in our team, and if this is the best for our city, I think this is the way we have to go.
All right. Councillor Branch?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. One thing I'm curious about, that number from a while ago, 845.13 for 2023, was that the average user
The median.
fees?
It was, am I still right? Okay. Yeah. So that was the median. So if you refer back to your package from October 11th, we identified the median, which was 27,000 something imperial gallons for a typical residence. That's where the highest bell curve. So really at 845, that's really the cost. Some pay less, but there's also a lot of people paying more than the 845 right now. So this is where we spotted the highest peak of the median. So what we're proposing now at the 825 is the one where we feel the fixed rate is divided amongst everybody for a service fee instead of a usage, since it's a fixed system.
But there must have been a lot of people paying less if 845 was a median, and now we're going to 825 with discounts. There must have been a lot of people paying less than that.
Let's not forget that some only pay for connection fees, some only pay for water fees, some only pay for sewage fees. So when we say that some pay less, yes, there are some that do pay less. But again, when we look at the data, there's still others that pay more, and that was provided to you in your package on October 11th. But when you start looking at the ones that pay quite significantly more, there's a threshold where you say, okay, those are big buildings or apartments that have multiple ones. So you have to exclude those when you're looking at the one single unit. But the biggest part of the median was 845.
Yeah, but then getting onto the apartments, like I've heard quite a bit of feedback that their rates will be going up. So ultimately that will be passed on to their tenants. So like Deputy Mayor Anderson said, then that's in some cases the most vulnerable people. So I guess I just have another question too. What do you say, like when you look at this and you say service billing is the way to go because it shouldn't be based on what they use? So if we look at a lot of stuff in our city, same thing, it's based on service, like we're clearing the roads, we're paying for recreational facilities and all that, and that is all done through property tax, which is based on assessment. So some people pay more because of their assessment and everything, but it doesn't cost more to deliver that service to that person as it does to their neighbors. Why wouldn't we look at what do you say to people that say, why wouldn't we look at a flat rate for everything then?
Because the act is different. The utilities are user-based in the act versus property tax, which is a different legislation.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you very much.
All right. Okay. So we have $2.2 million in water meters that would probably need to be replaced. We have $4,085,719 that we need for 2024. I understand that this is a difficult decision for council. I understand, you know, people with their incomes. You know, if I look at the guaranteed low supplement with the minus $221.80, that would be $50.26 a month is what they would pay for the people that are on their low income. If we look at the 10% discount with the 65 plus, we would be looking at $61.65 per month. And if people use the 5% rebate, it would be $65.31. Our staff has come to us and they've put this together, and I understand that, yes, I wish that we would have come earlier, but it's been a reform year. It's been a difficult year for all municipalities and our employees having to adjust with the municipal reform. They've come to us because this is a need, and I understand that the vote goes to you, and I do feel for the citizens, but I have to ask council, we have to trust our employees. So do we have any other debate or anything we want to talk about before we go to the vote? I have to do the resolution first. Yes, I know. I have it in front of me. Conseiller Leblanc.
J'aurais un commentaire à faire, si je peux, avant le
Allez-y.
vote.
Oui, là, tu peux faire le commentaire. Now we can do comments.
Ben, ça va prendre une couple de minutes. Là. Fait qu'en tant que citoyen de la ville, moi, je considère que le budget comme s'il s'agissait de mon propre budget. Okay? Quand je travaille à la maison, mes propres finances, que j'essaye d'équilibrer. Actuellement, les coûts des eaux et les égouts de cette ville sont, si j'ai bien compris, constitués de 97% de coûts fixes. Chaque année, depuis de nombreuses années maintenant, même avec les multiples augmentations du coût par litre, je pense qu'on parle de 27% dans les dernières années, l'eau et les égouts enregistrent des déficits de plusieurs milliers, voire même des centaines de milliers de dollars. Encore là, si dans quelque part là-dedans, j'ai pas raison, j'aimerais que Sonia, Todd ou Matt me corrigent. Ça fait que ce format, il fonctionne évidemment pas. Puisque nous ne sommes pas autorisés à utiliser d'autres budgets pour rembourser les pertes de ce budget, nous devons répartir ces pertes sur les 4 prochaines années, comme Matt l'expliquait tout à l'heure, qui augmente ainsi constamment le budget des années suivantes. Donc, on ne se rattrape pas, au contraire, on se cale à chaque année. Avec un déficit d'infrastructure de 137 millions de dollars, je comprends encore une fois, on ne va pas pouvoir le guérir avec augmenter ça ici là, de cette année. C'est impossible. Mais au moins, on va commencer à entretenir notre déficit nos infrastructures. En tant que ville, nous faisons creuser un trou et on mène aux citoyens en grand danger en n'entamant pas immédiatement le processus de résolution pour ces problèmes. Je crois sincèrement que la majorité des résidents, comme moi, ne veulent pas que nous fassions de la politique avec ceux-ci et que nous remettions ce problème aux générations futures et aux prochains conseils municipaux. Si on n'investit pas bientôt dans nos infrastructures d'aqueduc et d'égouts, le déficit sera le moindre de nos soucis, lorsqu'il nécessitera des réparations pouvant totaliser des millions de dollars. Si j'ai bien compris encore une fois que ce qu'on s'est dit aujourd'hui. Je comprends que pour certains, surtout ceux qui ont un revenu fixe, quelques dollars de plus par mois, ça peut être difficile à gérer. Ça signifie puiser dans un autre secteur de leur budget qui n'est jamais agréable. Mais dans le pire des cas, si j'ai bien compris encore aujourd'hui, avec les différents rabais, on parle d'environ 10-12 dollars par mois pour les plus touchés. Encore une fois, je comprends. Je ne suis pas prêt de dire, hey, c'est avec 12 piastres. Pour des gens, 12 piastres par mois, c'est beaucoup. Aujourd'hui, nous avons l'opportunité de résoudre un problème qui tourmente notre ville depuis des années et nous pouvons y parvenir avec très peu de répercussions. Pourquoi laisserions-nous derrière nous une problématique que nous pouvons résoudre maintenant? Je sers cette ville avec fierté et je comprends que ce rôle implique des décisions difficiles et qu'il ne s'agit pas simplement d'un simple concours de popularité. Depuis mon élection, chaque décision que j'ai prise ici a été dans le meilleur intérêt de la ville et de son ensemble, et ma décision sur cette question ne sera pas différente. Merci.
Merci. Je vous reviens, conseiller Leblanc, à lire la lecture. Attends, là, je vais aller chercher mon agenda ici.
9.5.2?
Oui, on est à première lecture de l'arrêté V24-01 9.5.2. Oh, sorry. Je t'arrête. Councillor Legacy is lit up. Sorry. I did not see you all the way in the corner.
It's something I've been deliberating for a while now, ever since our last couple of meetings, and I've gone back and forth so many different times. To the point where my main question is, we've known this has been an issue for years. Can we take the one extra year and take the proper time to actually discuss this and ask all the questions? Why does it need to be rushed during this budget season when we all have still so many unknowns? How much of a big deal would it be to continue on our system and take the amount of time? I know it's been a reform year, but to actually bring it back for the next year.
Looking at me.
I'll give it to you, Madame Gauvin.
On terms of the water sewer study, the information that has been provided, we were given that as a target for 2023 to do the study, so we did that. The difficulty in postponing it is that what do we budget for 2024? The problems that we are having now are getting to the point of no return. And so the longer that we wait, the bigger the issue is. I can tell you that since we've implemented, for example, just that one leak credit, I'm getting requests every 2 days for leak credits. Even like the staff's time is getting to the point of we cannot get the job done. So yes, it seems rushed, but earlier on in the year, we did say that this was an issue. We've known that it was an issue. Unfortunately, we've only been able to look at it in 2023, but the only solution that we currently have is to change the rates model that reflects the expense distribution. If we do not go forward, then we're back at the drawing table with really sitting with the engineering team, sitting with the administrative staff and say, okay, what's the cost of that? And budgeting that for 2024, which will be another increase, which might create another consumption decrease, which will further the problem. So we're trying to stop the hemorrhaging as fast as possible. But I get your point. We want to analyze it properly. It's a big change, but it is still something that we've been looking at for the past 5 years. Now we have the data to back it up, but we've been thinking about this for the past 5 years. So we're quite confident that what we have now is where we will still recommend it within 1 month or two.
Because I remember the commentary that Edmundston, they have the tower system with all the meters, and it seems like they're taking the proactive approach and they're leading in this. That's something I would have liked to be able to explore more, to check, can we follow in those footsteps? Because my main concern with this is that we have people who will see almost a 100% increase, and we will see people that will have a decrease. And if there's any future increases, it's going to affect those who have been at the lower rate even more proportionally. There's a 10% increase when you're paying $500 a year is $50, whereas if you're paying $1,000, it's $100. So we're punishing those with lower means to be able to do this. So I have an issue. I know that we need to pay more for the system, but when it comes to that $137 million infrastructure deficit we have, any future increases are going to hurt that populace more. And we say that this is going to be more cost efficient, but we see 45% of the users are going to have an increase. So that's a big chunk proportionally, and we're saying it's to save money, but we're taking in the same amount of pool of money. It's not going to extra increases to repairs. So I just want to put that comment out there.
All right. Mr. Abernathy, you want to add to that?
Sure, thanks. I think a lot of the savings that we're going to see just in water meters, I think our capital request every year to purchase water meters to replace existing water meters it used to be $100,000 a year. Now it's $60,000 a year because our capital budget is not what it used to be. And so right off the bat, that's eliminated, right? So that's not happening anymore.
So anybody that wants a new water meter is not going to get one because we won't have it.
Oh, we have some now, but like I said, every year we put in the capital, we put purchase of water meters. And it's right now, I think it's 60,000 that we've been doing every year. That used to be 100,000 to try and keep up. So to Councilor Burnett's point earlier, there's people waiting in line because to have meters. Well, that budget used to be 100, now it's down to 60 because that's all we can afford in our capital budget. There's also $10,000 a year in supplies that's used by that department just to install those water meters, wiring, drills and all kinds of different things. So there's direct savings there as well. Plus, like I mentioned earlier, a maintenance man's time, 3 or 4 days a week going and fiddling with water meters, 5 out of 10 times it's just a loose connection or something. It's dead time that we're using on this. That all of that time could be saved on actually performing proper maintenance on our system. Another thing to take note is everybody needs to know where they are, where they fit in this billing structure, right? There's nobody that's going to be getting a 100% increase in their water bill, not even close, right? So the minimum amount that anybody is paying right now is over $500. There's nobody paying less than $500 if they're on the full amount.
And if they are not, then there might be a problem with the water meter.
Certainly.
Yeah.
So if they're paying less than that, and there are certainly people that are paying less than that, they're either only paying for water or they're receiving the seniors discount. Okay. So right now, I just checking the feedback that we're getting, people getting very upset about, I can't believe the city is doing this. I looked into some of those people's water bills and what they're paying. I compared what they're paying now to what they're going to be paying. I see an increase of $2 a month for most of those people. So these are people that are paying $430, $480 because there's various discounts and different things applied. So if everybody looks at that $825 number and thinks, oh my God, that's what I'm going to pay, that's not necessarily the case, right? So we need to keep that in mind. $825 is for a full-fledged water and sewer connection, no discounts applied. That's what you're going to pay. So I think everybody needs to be realistic as far as what they're actually paying right now and why they're paying that and what they're going to pay in this new system based on the tables that Sonia put together. And at the end of the day, I think the number that Councillor LeBlanc mentioned of $10 to $12 a month increase, that is what we're seeing as the absolute worst case scenario, right? So something to keep in mind.
All right. Councillor Legacy, did you want to add?
Yes, I did. I just need to point out that that's not factual. I have every single invoice I've ever received from the city of Bathurst, plus all my water meters, all my readings. And I actually just had a brand new meter installed a little over a month ago. And I have my consumption as 1 to 2 units per month. So I'm looking at 110 to 129 as my last bill stated. So I do fall below that. And I have both water and sewage. So that is not accurate. There are people who fall below that. And I checked with the readers, and I thought that mine was just old and it would be turning slower as they told me, but that is also not the case. It seems to be on par with what it was before. I'm blanking on the earlier part. I had a commentary. I got lost in that. So yeah, I'll just leave it on that because I can't recall.
Okay. Okay, so we will go to the reading. Get this back in front of me. Conseiller Leblanc.
Merci, Madame la mairesse. Je propose que l'arrêté 2024, trait d'union 01, intitulé un arrêté réglementant les services et les redevances d'eau et d'égout de la ville de Bathurst soit lu 3 fois par titre, conformément aux exigences énoncées au paragraphe 15 3 de la loi sur la gouvernance locale et qu'il est possible d'examiner l'arrêté proposé ci-dessus en communiquant avec la greffière municipale de la ville pendant les heures normales de bureau et que l'arrêté proposé ci-dessus soit affiché sur le site web de la ville de Bathurst et sur la page Facebook, conformément à la loi sur la gouvernance locale, paragraphe 70, 1C, et que le but de l'arrêté proposé submentionné est d'établir des règles et des règlements relatifs à l'utilisation, la gestion et l'entretien d'eau et d'égouts de la ville de Bathurst. Il est résolu que l'arrêté proposé 2024-01 intitulé un arrêté réglementant les services et les redevances d'eau et d'égouts de la ville de Bathurst soit lu pour la première fois par titre.
Parfait. Est-ce que je peux avoir quelqu'un pour appuyer? Councillor Branch. So I'll go to the question. All in favor saying aye by raising your hand, please. Everyone in favor by saying aye, please raise your hand.
Aye.
Against, raise your hand. Okay. Dale, did you raise? Okay, so we have to, okay. We need to vote. All right, okay. Okay, so I'll start again. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Please raise your hand. Against, raise your hand. All right. Against goes through. We are moving on to 9.6, adoption of restriction and conditions pursuant to Section 59 of the Community Planning Act for the property located at 215 and 225 St. Patrick. Councillor Brunette.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I would so move that council adopts recommendations of the Planning Advisory Committee dated August 8, 2023, relating to an amendment to the municipal plan and zoning bylaw for properties located at 215, 225 St. Patrick Street, bearing PID numbers 20005518 and 20005500. Now therefore be resolved by myself that the zoning bylaw amendment is subject to the following terms and conditions, and that the project and its components comply with zoning and construction bylaws.
All right, may I have a seconder? Councillor LeBlanc, ready for the question? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We move on to proposed municipal plan zoning bylaw amendment for property located at 215, 225 St. Patrick Street. Councillor Hondas, we're going to the second reading of the bylaw 2023-04M.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that bylaw 2023-04M entitled a bylaw to amend bylaw number 2006-01 entitled the City of Bathurst Municipal Plan Bylaw be read for the second time by title.
All right, may I have a seconder? Councillor Scarry, ready for the question? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion carried. We will move over to the third reading of bylaw 2023-04M. Councillor Legacy.
I move that bylaw 2023-04M entitled a bylaw to amend bylaw number 2006-01 entitled the City of Bathurst Municipal Plan Bylaw be read by the third time by title.
Perfect. May I have a seconder? Councillor Willett, ready for the question? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion carried. We'll go to the second reading of the bylaw 2023-04Z. Councillor Willett.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd like to move that bylaw 2023-04Z entitled a bylaw to amend bylaw 2008-01 entitled the City of Bylaw Zoning Bylaw be read for the second time by title.
All right, may I have a seconder? Councillor Knowles, ready for the question? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Oppose? Motion carried. We'll go to the third reading of bylaw 2023-4Z. Councillor Scary.
Thank you, Mayor Chamberlain. I move that bylaw 2023-04Z, entitled a bylaw to amend bylaw 2008-01, entitled the City of Bathurst zoning bylaw, be read for the third time by title.
All right, may I have a seconder? Councillor Branch, are we ready for the question? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We are going straight to draft resolutions. We are at 10.1, rezoning application 495 Riverside Drive. Councillor Knowles.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move whereas the City of Bathurst proposed to amend the municipal plan and zoning bylaw for the property located at 495 Riverside Drive bearing PID number 200-08553, and whereas the properties are classified in the municipal plan as institutional and in the zoning bylaw as institutional, and whereas the request is to change the land use designation for the properties to allow for integrated development, and whereas the members of council request in writing the views of the Planning Advisory Committee on the proposed amendments, now therefore be it resolved that members of council publish a notice in accordance with Section 25 of the Community Planning Act advising of its intention to amend the municipal plan and zoning bylaw, and that a public presentation be held on December 18th, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. in council chambers to present the proposed amendments.
All right, may I have a seconder? Councillor Willett, any questions? No? Mr. McLaughlin, did you want to add to this?
Yeah, that's just tonight the resolution is to initiate the process, and I will make a presentation on December 18 and explain the project with a PowerPoint presentation.
Perfect, all right. So ready for the question? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We move over to P 2023-06, Workplace Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging Policy. Deputy Mayor Anderson.
Thank you, Your Worship. I move that whereas the City of Bathurst believes that diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging go hand in hand, and whereas the City of Bathurst knows that our differences make us stronger, more innovative, and better equipped to address the challenges of the future, be it therefore resolved that members of council approve policy P 2023-06, entitled Workplace Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging Policy as attached hereto.
All right, may I have a seconder? Councillor Branch, are you ready for the question? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We move over to 10.3, P 2023-07, Use of City Hall Facility Policy. Councillor Branch.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that whereas the City of Bathurst seeks to make effective use of facilities at City Hall, and whereas the City of Bathurst recognizes the importance of providing its facilities to community groups and individuals, be it therefore resolved that members of council approve policy P 2023-07, entitled Policy on Use of City Hall Facilities as attached hereto.
All right, may I have a seconder? Councillor Hondas, ready for the question? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. On va y aller à 4.10, P2023-05, politique de reconnaissance de bénévoles, conseiller Leblanc.
Merci encore, Madame la mairesse. Je propose que, considérant que la Ville de Bathurst reconnaît et valorise les bénévoles qui donnent de leur temps et de leurs services pour enrichir la qualité de vie au sein de la communauté, et considérant que la Ville de Bathurst utilise la soirée reconnaissance des bénévoles pour souligner les contributions exceptionnelles à la vie communautaire et la réalisation des bénévoles et de groupes communautaires, qu'il soit donc résolu que les membres du Conseil approuvent la politique P 2023-05 intitulée Politique de reconnaissance des bénévoles ci-jointe.
Parfait. Est-ce que je peux avoir quelqu'un pour appuyer? Conseiller Brunet, prêt pour la question? Tout ça en faveur signifie en disant oui?
Oui.
Contre? Motion adoptée. We move on to 10.5, P1989-08, donation of city flag. Councillor Burnett.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I would so move that the policy P1989-08, donation of city of flag, be hereby repealed as discussed at the committee of the whole meeting on Monday, November the 6th, 2023.
All right, may I have a seconder? Councillor Scary, ready for the question? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion carried. So we fall under 10.6. We have 3 different readings on donation and sponsorship requests. Ms. Parker will read one individually, and we will go to each vote for the 3 individually. Ms. Parker?
That the following donations or sponsorship be approved as discussed at the Committee of the Whole meeting on Monday, November 6, 2023. Sponsorship of $600 to the Bathurst Minor Hockey.
Okay, so I will need someone to move, and I'll need someone to second. All right, Councillor Honda's moved. Councillor Branch second. Now, are we ready for the question? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Oppose? Motion carried.
Que les dons ou parrainages suivants soient approuvés comme ils ont été discutés lors de la réunion plénière du lundi 6 novembre 2023. Un don de $500 à la campagne du Coquelicot 2023.
Parfait. Est-ce que je peux avoir quelqu'un pour proposer? Conseiller Willett. Pour appuyer? Conseiller Lagacé. Êtes-vous prêt pour la question? Deputy Mayor Anderson?
I just have just a comment on the naming of it to the breakfast program. In actuality, these monies are being requested.
Okay, that's the second one. We're talking about the Coquelicot right now. We're talking, okay, we're talking about the poppy.
Sorry.
You can bring that one up after.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, all right. Okay. Tous en faveur, signifiant en disant oui. Contre. Motion adoptée. All right.
That the following donations or sponsorship be approved as discussed at the Committee of the Whole meeting on Monday, November 6, 2023. A donation of $5,000 to the breakfast program and hot meals fundraiser.
Okay, so now may I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor LeBlanc, and second by Councillor Branch. Now, before we go to the question. Okay, Deputy Mayor Anderson.
Sorry.
No.
I was reading ahead here.
It's been,
the issue I have with this is that this $5,000 isn't going directly to a breakfast program. This $5,000 is going to pay the $25,000 to bring the alumni hockey players to town. So it's kind of deceiving because that money's not going directly to the breakfast program.
I had mentioned the same thing, and I spoke to Ms. Parker, and it's because the way it's put in the proposal. So we do know that it goes to pay the $5,000 towards the $25,000, and each school is presently selling tickets.
But regardless of what they're selling, this
I know.
$5,000 is not going towards the breakfast program. It's going to bring the hockey players to town.
Yes. Okay. All right. So I did get a seconder. Yes, I did. Okay, we're good for that. So we're going to the question. So all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Oppose? Nay. Okay, we have 1 nay. Motion carried. 10.6. Find my gear here. $10.7 T006-23, trucking of highway salt. Councillor Legacy.
I move that tender T006-23 trucking of highway salt be awarded to RH Frenette Trucking Limited for $119,850 plus tax.
All right, may I have a seconder? Councillor Hondas, ready for the question? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Oppose? Motion carried. $10.8, supply of course highway salt. Councillor Willett.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that whereas for the 2022-2023 season, the City of Bathurst purchased its road salt from Nutrient in Sussex, New Brunswick, at a price obtained by the province of New Brunswick by taking advantage of the universal purchasing clause, and whereas this clause allows any municipality in the province to obtain the salt at the same rate as the provincial contract, and whereas the lower supply price came with a higher price to truck, this means the City of Bathurst must revisit supply and trucking costs on a yearly basis regardless of the provincial agreement. Therefore, be it resolved that after reviewing the cost of trucking for the 2023-2024 season, members of council approve the extension of the contract to purchase an estimate quantity of 3,000 metric tons of road salt from Nutrient in Sussex, New Brunswick, for a total cost of $193,800 plus tax.
All right, may I have a seconder? Councillor Legacy. Mr. Abernathy, you want me to go to you to say a few words?
Yeah, that's pretty self-explanatory, but thanks, Madam Mayor. So the supply of salt is essentially a standard contract we do every year. We'll be using the tender that was previously awarded to pick up that salt on an as-needed basis and make sure that our stock is up to par for ice control on the streets.
Perfect. We're ready for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. $10.9 T007-23 supply of chlorine. Councillor Scary.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that the tender T007-23 supply of chlorine be awarded to Brentag Canada Incorporated of Dartmouth, Nova Scotia for $118,728 plus tax over a 3-year term.
All right, may I have a seconder? Councillor Knowles, ready for the question? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. 10.10, demolition of dilapidated and dangerous buildings. Mr. McLaughlin, did you want me to go to the readings first, or did you want to talk about them, or talk about them after each one?
After.
After each one? Perfect, okay. So we'll go straight to Councillor Knowles for 2500 Roughwater Drives, PID 20019675.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move whereas the property located at 2500 Rough Waters Drive, PID 20019675 is a hazard to the safety of the public by reason of being vacant or unoccupied and dilapidated, and whereas the property contravenes the City of Bathurst dangerous or unsightly bylaw 2019-05, and whereas the property owner has not appealed the notice to comply dated August 21st, 2023, and whereas the property owner has not presented evidence that the building is structurally sound and not dilapidated, and whereas council reviewed the municipal planning officer's report at the in-camera meeting on November 6, 2023, be it resolved that members of council authorize the municipal bylaw enforcement officer to proceed with the enforcement of the City of Bathurst dangerous or unsightly premises bylaw 2019-05 to arrange for the demolition of the buildings and cleanup of the property at 2500 Rough Waters Drive, PID 20019675 in accordance with the applicable city bylaws, and that the mayor and city clerk be authorized to sign all related documents on behalf of the City of Bathurst.
All right, may I have a seconder? Deputy Mayor Anderson. We'll go to Mr. McLaughlin, and then we'll go to questions.
For this property, I want to be sure that the citizens understand that we have a dangerous unsightly premises bylaw, and we have to do a very due diligent sending notice, and we only apply this bylaw when a building is almost ready to collapse or it was vacant and dangerous to the public. In this case, we follow the process, and that those buildings will be demolished if it's approved by City Council. After also the province, we could claim that money back to the province, and the province put a lien on the tax bill for that property, and in the future, if the tax bill is not paid, that could be subject to tax sale.
All right, do we have any questions? Councillor Burnett?
Thanks, Madam Mayor, through you to Mr. McLaughlin. A couple of people have approached me about some buildings in the new areas that have now become Bathurst. What's the procedure and process there for reporting buildings that are dangerous of falling down unsightly in the new wards that we have taken into the city?
For sure, the public could contact the planning department. The first stage we're doing is to talk to the owner and try to reach the owner. Sometimes the owner are not living outside the city, and try to make arrangement with them to secure the building. Sometimes the city is going to board up the building, but the new area that we just taking over, not to the Gauche, out to the Gauche, Big River, Miramichi, Gloucester Junction, those area we have to modify the dangerous unsightly bylaw, and that's something we intend to do probably in 2024 to more or less the bylaw going to be effective in the new territories. But for 2023 it was not, we cannot, and we did not have the jurisdiction to enforce the dangerous unsightly bylaw in those areas.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Madam Mayor.
You're welcome. So we'll go to the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Oppose? Motion carried. We move on to 236 Nevin Lane, PID 2002572. Deputy Mayor Anderson.
Thank you, Your Worship. I move that whereas property located at 236 Nevins Lane, PID 2002572 is a hazard to the safety of the public by reason of being vacant or unoccupied and dilapidated, and whereas the property contravenes the City of Bathurst dangerous or unsightly bylaw 2019-05, and whereas the property owner has not appealed the notice to comply dated August 21st, 2023, and whereas the property owner has not presented evidence that the building is structurally sound and not dilapidated, and whereas Council reviewed the Municipal Planning Officer's report at the in-camera meeting on November 6, 2023, be it resolved that members of Council authorize the Municipal Bylaw Enforcement Officer to proceed with the enforcement of the City of Bathurst Dangerous or Unsightly Premises Bylaw 2019-05 to arrange for the demolition of the buildings and clean up at the property at 236 Nevins Lane, PID 2002572, in accordance with the applicable city bylaws, and that the mayor and city clerk be authorized to sign all related documents on behalf of the City of Bathurst.
All right, may I have a seconder? Councillor Legacy, ready for the question? Oh, we'll go to Mr. McLaughlin again.
It's the same situation. Maybe I could have had also something I forgot to mention. After we demolish the property, there's a cost attached to the demolition. The owners still have 90 days to pay for the cost that the city pay for the demolition, and they could keep the property and they could sell the property to the public or reuse the property. But the owner still have an option to pay for the demolition.
Okay, before we invoice the province. Okay, all right. So all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion carried. We'll go to transfer from utility operating fund to utility capital reserve. Councillor Branch.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Whereas the City of Bathurst received funding under the Canada-New Brunswick Building Canada Fund for the construction of 2 sewage lift stations, and whereas under the agreement, the replacement reserve fund shall be maintained for future replacement of various items, which amount has been determined to be $13,500 annually. Now therefore be it resolved that an amount of $13,500 be transferred from the utility operating fund to utility capital reserve fund.
All right, may I have a seconder? Conseiller Leblanc. So we have 4 of these. What we'll do is we'll go through and then Mr. Pettigrew can pipe in afterwards. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Transfert de fonds de fonctionnement des services d'eau et d'égouts vers le fonds de réserve d'eau et d'égouts du fonds capital d'agrandissement de l'usine de traitement d'eau. Conseiller Leblanc. Oh, excuse-moi, j'ai oublié de... Ah, son micro est fermé. OK, allez-y.
Alors, ma joke a
Merci.
été bonne. Merci, Madame la mairesse. Je propose qu'attendu que la Ville de Bathurst a reçu un montant du Fonds Chantier Canada Nouveau-Brunswick pour un important projet de modernisation et d'agrandissement de l'usine de traitement d'eau, et attendu qu'en vertu de l'entente, un fonds de réserve de remplacement de 17 000 sera maintenu annuellement pour le remplacement futur de divers équipements. Qu'il soit donc résolu qu'un montant de 17 000 soit transféré du fonds de fonctionnement des services d'eau et d'égout vers le fonds de réserve d'eau et d'égout du fonds capital.
Parfait. Est-ce que je peux avoir quelqu'un pour appuyer? Conseiller Branch, prêt pour la question? Tous en faveur signifie en disant oui.
Oui.
Contre? Motion adoptée. Go to 10.13, transfer from utility operating fund to the utility capital reserve fund, U-Haul and Queen Elizabeth Drive. Councillor Burnett.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I was so moved, whereas the City of Bathurst received funding under the Municipal Rural Infrastructure Fund for the connection of residences to the city's water distribution system and the wastewater treatment system for U-Haul and Queen Elizabeth Drive, and whereas under the agreement, a replacement reserve fund shall be maintained for future replacement of various short life items, which amount has been determined to be $10,000 annually. Now, therefore, be resolved by myself that an amount of $10,000 be transferred from the utility operating fund to utility capital reserve fund.
All right, we have a seconder. Councillor Branch, ready for the question? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We move on to 10.14, transfer from utility operating fund to the utility capital reserve fund, Bay Shore and Karen Drive. Councillor Hondas.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that whereas the City of Bathurst received funding under the Municipal Rural Infrastructure Fund for the connection of residents to the city's water distribution system and wastewater treatment system for Bay Shore and Karen Drives, and whereas under the agreement, a replacement reserve fund shall be maintained for future replacement of various short life items, which amount has been determined to be $6,000 annually. Now, therefore, be it resolved that an amount of $6,000 be transferred from the utility operating fund to the utility capital reserve fund.
All right, we have a seconder. Councillor Knowles, ready for the question?
Question.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Mr. Pettigrew?
Thank you, Worship. I just wanted to point out these are individual funds, so that the funds that are allocated can only be used for that project, for those disposable items or I guess, replacement of short-term life items. We have used one recently at our water treatment plant for some information, so it definitely goes to reducing some of that cost. But specifically with this funding model, they can only be used for these specific projects. So they say into the reserve fund, but it's specifically for that capital work.
All right. Go to point 10.15.1. So item discussed in camera, downtown Bathurst grant. Councillor Legacy.
I move that council members approve the grant of $50,000 to downtown Bathurst as discussed in camera on July 31st, 2023, pursuant to Section 68 of the Local Governance Act.
All right, we have a seconder. Councillor Willett, ready for the question? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. We're under new business. Ms. Parker, do we have any new business?
There's no new business.
Do we have any old business?
There's no old business.
Okay. Items for information and others, committee report.
There were no committee reports, and there are no items under departmental update either.
Okay, so we go to the mayor's update. Well, I'd like to start by saying our second magazine is out. I don't know if council was able to see it. This will be quarterly. It's really nice. It talks about different departments, and each department has a piece that they talk about. We talk about our summer program. For council, if you haven't had a chance, please drop by. We'll give you one. Hopefully by next week, we'll start delivering them in the nursing homes locally. Hopefully we'll have some to put them at the library, and there are some at the entrance. It's a nice read. It's really nice to see. Talks quite a bit about everything. So if you had a chance, this is our second edition. Great job in the communication department and all departments that took the time to complete this. Last 2 weekends, on November 3rd and 4th, I actually had an opportunity to join a women's business conference. And I have to say that it was so invigorating to see. We were 140 women that attended this conference. And it was a true cultural diversity of women and young women. And it was nice to see because they had different workshops, and certain workshops were, municipal politics, provincial politics. And it was beautiful to see the amount of women that were gathered to learn about different policies and how things worked. And I tell you, I walked out of there with a sense of pride and decided I was going to become a mentor for some of these young women. It was, I don't know, I had such a beautiful weekend. I think it's one of my best weekends I've had, to see all these young women and see that they're our future. It was something else. The association of CBDC put a wonderful job together for this weekend conference. J'aimerais féliciter Maître Basile Chiasson, qui a reçu le récipiendaire Prix Franklin Eau Légère 2023. J'ai eu la chance de participer à la réception au Atlantic Coast vendredi soir passé. C'était vraiment bien parce qu'il y avait plusieurs de ses collègues qui étaient venus pour le féliciter, puis qui venaient d'un peu partout du Nouveau-Brunswick. On parlait de Moncton, Saint-Jean. Ça a été une très belle soirée, et félicitations, Maître Basile Chiasson. We had an amazing turnout at the K.C. Irving for November 11th Remembrance Day. It was really nice to see how many people attended the ceremony, and we see that every year. So thank you for everyone for taking the time for appreciating that day. J'aimerais féliciter Edmundston d'avoir été choisi pour les Jeux de l'Acadie 2026. J'ai participé à la réception à Bouctouche quand ils ont fait l'annonce. Fait félicitations Edmundston, mais Bathurst, je pense qu'on va réessayer pour 2027. On lâchera pas le coup, on va réessayer. This weekend, myself and 7 councillors will be attending the UMNB conference. I will actually be part of the Friday morning panel workshop, which will be on newcomer integration in New Brunswick. Don't know anything about that. So we're certainly looking forward to the networking and meeting other mayors and city councilors. It's really great, these types of workshops, and we're able to network with other business, in other municipalities to see how they operate. So I'm really looking forward to that one. So that's just about it for my mayor's report. So we will go to the adjournment of the meeting, and Councillor Willett.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that the regular public meeting be adjourned at 8:50 p.m.
All right, may I have a seconder? Councillor Scarry, ready for the question? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Have a great evening, everyone. Merci d'être avec nous.